Hi Stampers, this is Kim with Great Inspirations. I'm glad you're here today. I thought we would talk about a card layout today. And this is one I go to on occasion because I don't know about you, but I do not enjoy making multiples of one card. I realize sometimes it's necessary. For example, if you're making invitations or if someone has asked you to make invitations for a party or a gathering, they usually want the invitations to be identical. Sometimes at Christmas, I have made one card design and sent it to everyone, but I get really bored. I mean, it's just not my thing. So I have an layout today that I use when I want to cut everything the same size, but I can mix it up a bit. And I call that my 4-way layout. And so that's why I have these 2 pieces of cardstock here. Because the first thing you will need is a card base. And then I have some other little goodies in here that'll show what we need. But the card base doesn't matter as long as it's A2 size, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4, or it can be like this one, 11 by 4 1/4 and scored at 5.5. The only thing you really have to do when you are making cards with this layout is pay attention to your card bases if it's a landscape or portrait. And that's the other thing, when you cut out some pattern paper, that's the other thing you need to be aware. Is this going to be the landscape version or the portrait version of the layout? So the other things you will need other than a card base, and I'm going to talk about this in terms of 4 cards. You certainly do not have to make all 4 cards. You can just make one version of the layout. But because I'm talking about multiples, I would do this in multiples of 4. So you're going to need 4 pieces of cardstock. I'm sorry. Yes, 4 pieces of cardstock that is a light color for a greeting. It could be white, it could be a cream color, a light blue, a lavender, something like that. But it needs to be 2 3/4 by 3 inches. And then you'll need a mat for that, cut from cardstock. That is 3 by 3 1/4. Then we're going to need a layer that is patterned paper, cut at 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. And this is the one you want to pay attention if it is a paper that orientation is important. You want to be sure and pay attention because you don't want your flowers growing upside down or, your pets standing on their heads. And then we'll need a mat for that. That is 3 by 4. And that can be from cardstock. And also, if you want an inside panel, I cut mine at 3 3/4 by 5. You could cut it at 5 by 4 1/4, whatever you like, for the inside. Now, I should have mentioned you don't have to worry about writing down these measurements. They will be on my corresponding blog post, and the link to that is in the description of this video. So, these are just my little guides. But basically, you'd match your pattern paper, you'd match your greeting, do your stamping, whatever you're going to put on the inside, and then be ready to put your cards together. So I have some here that we'll be assembling. And I have, here's my card base, and this card base opens at the top because we're going to make a portrait version right now. And so it is 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5.5. And then I do have a mat for the inside, or it's a panel for the inside that is 3 3/4 by 5. And then I have already adhered these together. And here is my pattern paper on its mat. And here is my light colored cardstock. This is Basic Beige from Stampin' Up. And I've stamped a little design on it for the background and a greeting. And I have matted it. So put this together. We'll just start with the inside. And we'll just get a little adhesive on it. And open up our card. There we go. And now to arrange our pieces for the front. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this pattern paper. Let me see if it has a right side or wrong. Nope, this will be fine. And I am going to get the adhesive on it and then place it on the card base. And I'm just going to line up the sides down here towards the bottom and give it a border along each side and the bottom that's approximately equal. And there's that. And now we'll take our greeting panel, put some adhesive on that. And I'm going to center this on this piece and then try to give it a border that's about the same as the border at the bottom. Just do the best you can. And that's the layout. Now let's add a few little embellishments. I have some, I think these are called antique pearls. They're from Stampin' Up. Yeah, antique pearls. I thought they would look nice. So let's put one up here maybe. Whoops, that adhesive wants to stay on the paper. We'll go to the next one. And put one here. And right here. So there is our first card with our layout. Now let's do this layout. I said it was a 4-way layout. This is the first way. Let's do the second way. So I'm bringing in some stuff. I have a card base, and it is again for a portrait size or style card, and I have the inside panel already adhered. And what I'm going to do is take the pattern paper and get some adhesive on the back. And then this time, we're going to take this layout and flip it. So we're going to put our pattern paper at the top. And go ahead and get those borders at the top and on the sides. Now we'll put some adhesive on our greeting. And we're going to do exactly what we did for this one. Although the greeting was at the top, the greeting will be towards the bottom on this. And we just get it centered on our pattern paper. Leave a border down here that's about the same size as at the top. And there we go. And that is of our 4-way layout, way number 2. But we do need our little embellishments on here. And there we go. And we are ready to move on to way number 3 and 4. And I bet you know exactly what I'm going to do. They are already put together, so you won't have to watch me put them together. But we're going to start out, and this time we have a card that is landscape. And we took this and just turn it on its side. So there's way number 3. And then we also have, of course, we'll do the exact opposite. And where's the greeting is on the left, and over here the greeting is on the right. But if you turn them all, you can see it's the exact same layout. All we've done is change the orientation. And the cards, they are very similar. They're not alike, but they're very similar. And this is one of the layouts I use that gets me through times when for myself, not when I make cards that others have asked me to make for them, but for myself, when I feel I need to have one card design, I do this because I can cut all the pieces the exact same size. Like I said, be aware of the directional papers, but if you find a pattern paper that has no direction, easy peasy. Now, this, for me, can also get boring sometimes. So what I do, say I need birthday cards and I need them pretty quick, and this is a layout that I am quite familiar with. So I start cutting my pieces, but I go through my scrap bin and I come up with different scraps of pattern paper and sometimes even different scraps of cardstock that coordinates, and there is enough of that I can use them on my cards. And I just start cutting my papers and making my card bases. And before I know it, I have all the birthday cards I need. Exact same layout, but look similar but different, and a lot more different because I've used different pattern papers, I've used different colors of card bases, I've used different colors of ink. So each one of these is individualized, but it's the same layout, so it was pretty quick and easy to put these cards together. And then let me just show you, I do have a Christmas version, and for the Christmas version, the only thing I really changed was the pattern paper, but the papers are from the same paper pack. So everything goes together nicely. Now this is something that I would package together, and I might make 2 sets of them and package and wrap nicely and give it to someone as a gift. I could do the same thing for birthday cards or thank you cards because I do gift my cards often. So anyway, this is what I call the 4-way layout. And for me, it's just a way to kind of mix up my card making, but still be able to do cards that aren't replicas of one another, but are similar enough that when the need arises that I need cards that are similar, it works. But it's also just a fun layout to use anytime at all. And like I said, you don't have to make all 4 cards. I just do that because if I'm cutting things out, I may as well. It'll save me some time. And so here, what do we have here? 12 cards. And I probably spent 30 minutes cutting this stuff out. And you saw it doesn't take any time at all to put them together. You know, it took a little more time to do stamping and that kind of thing. But there's my 12 cards, all with the same layout, but they all look quite different. Thank you so much for joining me today. And as I said, on my corresponding blog post will be all the cutting directions, measurements, all that kind of stuff. And the link to that blog post is in the description of this video. Thank you so much for being here today. Until next time, stamp happy.